Hello everyone! Welcome to another Tuesday. Today we are going to be making something that I think is very practical. So I was looking on Amazon the other day and I was trying to find like a sand-proof beach blanket, you know, and I couldn't find one that I really liked that had good reviews. And then I ended up finding this one that was really highly rated and I was like, ooh, perfect. I'll just get that one. But then I looked at it and it's made of a layer of water resistant fabric and then fleece. And I was like, I could totally make this. So that's what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna make it. I don't think that it's sand proof, but it will be waterproof and it'll be spill resistant on the top because it's fleece. And fleece actually does kind of like not hold on to the sand like as much. You can just like shake it off real good and it should wash out. So at the end of this video, we're gonna do a little test where my daughter's gonna play with sand and we're gonna have a little picnic on our beach blanket and then I'll wash it and I'll tell you what happens. Whoops. Why do I keep spilling my drinks, you guys? Oh, that's what socks are for, yeah. Anyway, if you are a returning subscriber, hello to you, my friend. It's nice to see you. I would love it if you would just tell me how you're doing. You know, I love to hear that. If you are new here, hi, my name is Nikita and welcome to my channel where this is what I do. I drink and I sew things. Okay, today I'm being really unoriginal, you guys. I had like this goal. It wasn't like really like a written out goal, but I was like, I'm gonna do a different drink every time. But I'm drinking a gin and tonic, and I'm pretty sure in like my second or third video I ever made, I was drinking a gin and tonic. So yeah, but it's made with different gin this time. Does that count? So I made this gin and tonic with Wild Roots gin. I also made it with lemon juice instead of squeezing a lime because we don't have limes. We don't have lime juice. So I don't know. This is like my trashy, this is what's in my fridge gin and tonic. Cheers. So this should be a pretty quick video. It's pretty easy. Let's just get right into it. Okay, so first you're gonna need some waterproof fabric. Now, I got some on Amazon. You can get some on like fabric.com. You can get some at Joann's, I think, but I was like, oh, it's kind of expensive. And so I was like, I'll just try ordering it on Amazon. So this, it's on like a cardboard tube, which I'm totally gonna use as a sword. My battery just died, so that was fun. So you're gonna need 2 yards. A lot of the time, waterproof fabric, which is also called PUL, has a shiny side and then like a not shiny side. So the shiny side is the waterproof side, and that's what you want facing outwards. This one doesn't have that. So you just have to know when you buy it, like this is the outside, and then look for the color difference between the right side and the wrong side. So you're gonna need 2 yards of that, but you're also going to need 2 yards of fleece. Look, isn't it cute? It's waves for a beach blanket. So 2 yards of PUL or waterproof fabric, 2 yards of fleece. You're also going to want straight pins. Be warned. When you pin through waterproof fabric, it does put a little hole in it so that leaves a small space for leakage. Though I have heard if you just pop it in the dryer real quick, that will close that hole up. Be warned again. You can wash this waterproof fabric and stuff, but you should not dry it. You should air dry it, or you should dry it on like the air fluff where it doesn't have any heat, because your heat from the dryer will delaminate the PUL and will cause it to not be waterproof anymore. And now you know. Okay, before we get started, let's take a little drink. The PUL and the fleece are each, I think the PUL is 60 inches and the fleece is like 62 inches or something. So you're gonna need a big space to lay this out so that you can pin or clip it together. I'm going to be using my craft room floor. I would suggest using a floor, maybe using a bed, and You'll have to be careful when actually sewing because of how much fabric there will be. It's gonna be a lot of bulk. Also, I've noticed with fleece, sorry, I'm just like talking a lot at the beginning. I just wanna give you all the like tips and tricks that I've learned over the years, you know? So something I've learned with fleece is that it moves and stretches. So annoying. It's so soft and just like wonderful fabric, but it can be a pain because it can like move and stuff. So when you are putting the fleece on top of the PUL, we're going to cut the fleece just a little bit, okay? So that it is slightly smaller than the PUL because I want to give it just a little bit of wiggle room because it probably will wiggle. But the good news is that your blanket will be really soft and like water spill resistant. So there you go. I'm also going to be slicing off this cut edge here. I'm going to cut off about 2 inches of it because I want it to be smaller than or about the same size as my PUL, and I'm going to line it up so that I can make sure that it is at least somewhat square. So to make cutting this off easier, I actually took it and folded it in half so that the 2 cut edges were meeting together, and then I don't have to cut through it twice. Now that this edge is mostly square, I am going to line it up, and then I am going to cut off the selvage edge, which is the one with the holes and the logo, and you can definitely tell it is because this part doesn't look like fleece, and then it has all these holes in it. So I'm gonna line that up, and then I'm going to slice that off. I'm gonna end up cutting about 2 inches off of here probably as well. Now this piece of fleece that I have left should be smaller than the PUL. So I'm going to bring the PUL out now. Right, and now I just unrolled my PUL, so we are going to do the same thing. Just cut off the selvage edge here, and there is a very clear line where that is. I'm just going to use my cutting mat to make sure that I am cutting it square. And now that we have that taken care of, we can start to put them together. So for this part, we're going to need our pins and our drink. Don't forget about that. So first, I'm going to lay out my waterproof fabric, and I'm laying this out face up. Then I'm going to lay out my fleece fabric, and I'm going to lay that out face down. And I am going to have to move around a bit. We want to try to keep the bottom layer as straight as we can and use your hands to smooth it out as you go. With fleece, I like to go from the middle and smooth out like this, especially as I start to pin. But if you are like me and you made sure that you cut your fleece a little bit smaller than your PUL, which is what you want to do, then you can see I've got PUL on the edges, so it doesn't matter as much to make sure they line up perfectly, which is exactly why I cut it this way. Makes it so much easier. I'm all about the ease, right guys? Whew. So now, and we're going to get these 2 layers together. We're also going to be placing pins periodically in the middle of the fabrics to pin the 2 together, because as we're sewing, that will help keep them together so that they don't move as much, which is what you want. Well, moving. We don't want moving. We want not moving. Yes, words good, FaceTime. Let's take another drink because that's sure to help. Make sure that your layers are right sides together, and let's start pinning. Make sure you smooth out the fleece as you pin. Also, another tip is to put more pins than you think you need. So instead of going like every 2 feet, go every foot or more than that. The more pins that you have, the more likely your fabric will stay together and won't cause problems. on your blanket after you're done because of the pins, but I've got to so that I can like talk to you about it. So I've got some extra border of the PUL fabric. Just let me take a burp, hold on. I am not going to slice that off yet because I want the fleece fabric to be able to move and whatever. I will slice it off after I have sewn. Now it's time to sew, you guys.
Also, try not to step on your container of pins.
Right, here we are at our sewing machine. Let's choose a straight stitch. And then you're going to pick a place to start. It does not matter where, except do not start at the corner because having to tuck in the corner, it's just the whole thing. Start somewhere, not the corner. We're going to end up leaving like an 8 to 10 inch gap because the blanket's so large, we need to turn it right side out, right? So I don't want to start 8 to 10 inches from the corner. I am going to be starting like 2-3 feet down from a corner at least. You can start wherever you really want, but just make sure it's at least 2 to 3 feet down from the corner. And for this stitch, I'm going to be lining it up to the inside of my presser foot because I cannot see my seam allowance underneath. So it's a bit more than 1/4 of an inch, but it's less than a 1/2 inch. So I don't know, maybe 3/8-ish. Make sure that you back stitch because when we turn it right side out, if you don't back stitch at the beginning and the end, it can pop your seam open. We don't want to do that. So we're going to start here. We're going to sew all the way down to the corner. When we get there, I will show you how to put your needle down and pivot. And you will not be able to see this thread color or your bobbin color on this one because we are going to be turning it right side out. So it does not matter at this point for the thread and bobbin color. So let's just go ahead and sew. Okay, you can see my blanket needs to be moved a bit, and when you do that, make sure you put your needle down in your fabric because otherwise it'll just go whoosh and your stitches will be all messed up. So let's not do that. Put your needle down anytime that you need to move or adjust your blanket. Also, another thing, sorry, you can see what I mean about fleece moving as I've sewn. It's kind of pushed anything extra, and this is my extra here. So that's why we don't chop off the extra PUL before we sew. Okay, here we are at the corner. You can see, woo, how much my fleece moved. Maybe 1/2 of an inch or so. Now we are at the corner. I am going to put my needle down. We're gonna lift up our presser foot and then turn your fabric. So now you are going to be sewing down the other side. And then we just keep going like that all the way around. So I'm about 10 to 12 inches away from the place where I started. So I'm going to forward stitch, and then I am going to make sure I back stitch because we don't want to pop our seams open. Forward stitch again. Now it's time to cut our threads. All right, now you are going to take your fabric scissors and we're going to cut off all of that excess PUL and fleece. We want to only be leaving, you know, a 1/2 inch or so on the outside of our seam. Also, any corners you come across, any corners, there are 4. Oh my goodness, Nikita. You want to cut them at a diagonal like this so that there's not very much. Don't get too close to the corner though. We don't want to clip it open because by doing that, there's less bulk in the corner. So when we turn it right side out and we push the corners out, they'll look much nicer than if there's a lot of bulk there. So go ahead and cut away all of your excess. Oh, let's take a celebratory drink break, my friend, if we can find our drink in here. Whew. Cheers to you. All right, we've cut off all the excess. The next step is to take out all the pins in the middle. The only reason we had these in was to keep it all together, and we can't turn it right side out if there are a bunch of pins in it. So I think I got all of, oop, just kidding. Just to double check that there are no more pins, I'm gonna flip it over to my plain side. Aha! And you see, it's so much easier to see the silver on this solid color. So we're just gonna look on the solid color for silver. And it looks like now I got them all. So let's go back and find our opening. Ah, here it is. And we are going to turn this sucker right side out. And now that it's right side out, use your finger or possibly a pen where you can just kind of work the corners like this between your thumb and forefinger. Work those corners out. Let's do it to all 4 of them. Now our very last step is just to close up this opening. Now you have 3 options the way I see it. Option number 1, let's take this to our sewing machine and you are going to fold these edges in, which they naturally want to do following the seam allowance. And you just do a straight stitch right along this opening and that's it. It's a big blanket. Probably nobody's gonna notice that anyway. Option number 2 is that you do an invisible stitch. I'll link a video to show you how to do that. An invisible stitch will close this so that you won't be able to see the stitches, so you don't have to top stitch the whole way around. The other benefit of this is that this will remain waterproof. When we sew around the edge, we are going to be putting little holes in the edges, so it's not going to be quite as waterproof. Last option, and the one that I am going to do, is we are going to top stitch all the way around, meaning we do a straight stitch using about a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and we start at one side and we go all the way around until we get to the other end. Now with this, like I said, it will be slightly less waterproof. Also, you will be able to see the thread color and the bobbin color. So you will need to be aware of which thread and bobbin color you're using. Make sure it's something matching, or if you would like to have a nice fun look, something that is contrasting. So let's go take our blanket to either our sewing machine or our hand needle if you're doing it that way, and we'll close this up. But before we do that, let's take a drink. My ice cubes are gone, so I think that means I need to finish my thing before it gets too warm. Nothing like a gin and tonic, am I right? I'm just changing my bobbin and my thread so that they will be matching to my 2 fabrics. Now I'm gonna start above the opening using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And this one may be one that you want to pin, but I'm not gonna pin it, but I am going to do a forward and a back stitch. When we meet the beginning, we back stitch, forward stitch, and we're done. And there you go. There's your super awesome, customizable beach blanket. I will make sure to link everything in the description. And it looks like I need a refill, so let's go test this thing out. Enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope that you stick around so that you can drink along and sew along with me on my next video. Thanks for watching. Someday Squish is gonna watch this and think that I'm such a creep.